Good morning, everyone. Today we will be continuing the physiology of stomach.
Good morning,
So
ma'am.
last time we discussed about the structural anatomy and functions and gastric secretion, how the gastric secretion is regulated and everything. We have done with everything till that point. We even revised everything. So today we will be starting with gastric phase and gastric motility. So gastric secretion has three phases: cephalic phase, gastric phase, and intestinal phase. So these three phases they depend upon where the food is. Cephalic phase is the phase in which the food is not yet reached the stomach. It is generated initiated by sight, smell, or taste of food. It is only nervous under nervous neuronal regulation. It is not under hormonal regulation. And then we have gastric phase. Gastric phase is the phase in which the food has reached the stomach, and it is under both neuronal and hormonal regulation. Then the last phase is intestinal phase, which is mostly inhibitory phase. Like gastric and gastric are stimulatory phase, intestinal phase is inhibitory phase. It inhibits the secretion of gastric juice in the stomach when the food reaches the duodenum, that is the initial part of the intestine. So when we talk about cephalic phase is under neuronal regulation, as I have told you, the impulses are generated due to the presence of food in front of you, or thought of food, or smell, or even taste of food. That is, the food is still in the oral cavity. So when these impulses are generated in the cerebral cortex or in the appetite center situated in amygdala or hypothalamus of the brain, and these impulses they travel through vagus and they come to the wall of the stomach, and there they stimulate the parietal cells, they stimulate the chief cells, and they increase the HCl secretion there. So this is totally under neuronal regulation. This is into the vagus control. Even emotion play an important role in cephalic phase. That like anger appetite, you don't feel like eating. That is because it decreases the gastric secretion and gastric motility. So emotions also have a kind of regulation through vagus. They are all also vagally regulated, and they also come under cephalic phase because the food does not yet cannot have reached the stomach. So they are in the cephalic phase. So emotions also play a important role in regulation of gastric secretion. The rate of secretion during cephalic phase is very high, but it lasts for very short duration. It does not last for longer duration, and it gives it is responsible for 45% of total secretion. Cephalic phase is responsible for 45% of total secretion. So this is about cephalic phase. Then we come to gastric phase. Gastric phase is the phase when the food reaches the stomach. So as soon as the food reaches the stomach, the bolus reaches the this upper portion of the stomach. It causes distension of the fundus. It causes distension of the body, and due to that distension, vagus, the vagovagal reflex is released. That is, they call this vagovagal reflex. That is, the impulse are carried through vagus to the brain, and then the motor neurons are also vagal. So sensory and motor both are vagal neurons. So the vagovagal reflects the distension of the stomach. The vagus is stimulated, and by vagovagal reflex, the vagus fires back for the increased secretion of these parietal cells, stem cells, and mucus cells. That increases the acidity of the stomach. Vegas also, as I have already told you, that Vegas coordinates with the intrinsic regulation also. So Vegas also causes mesenteric and some mucosal, it stimulates mesenteric and some mucosal plexus, and these plexus also causes the increase in the secretion of from these cells. So basically, the acidity of the stomach is increasing due to distension of stomach when the bolus reaches in it. Also, due to secretion of these HCl and all, some of the food gets digested, and due to digestion, the protein product, byproducts of protein digestion, they also stimulate the parietal cells, and they also stimulate the G cell, basically G cells, to release more gastrin, and gastrin in turn stimulates parietal cells to increase the HCl secretion. The HCl in turn, more acidity, low pH in the stomach in turn causes more pepsinogen secretion. So all these hormones are also related. So it is under vagal neuronal control and also under hormonal regulation, because these hormones, they in turn regulate the secretion of other hormones. So this is the gastric phase. After the gastric phase is intestinal phase. In intestinal phase, as I have told you, this basically it is also under both neuronal and hormonal regulation. Intestinal phase is basically inhibitory phase. That is when the food reaches the duodenum or the initial part of the small intestine. It causes the decrease in the gastric secretion and gastric motility. So what happens when the food reaches in the duodenum? The distension of duodenum, the partially digested food byproducts, that is protein and fat byproducts, the acidity of the chyme, all these things, they cause the generation of enterogastric reflex. That means that the distension of duodenum, the acidity in the duodenum, all these things, they cause the enterogastric reflex. That means they inhibit through vagus, they inhibit the mesenteric plexus, the local reflexes, they inhibit the local reflexes, and they cause decrease in the secretion of the gastric glands. Other than this enterogastric reflex, which is under neuronal regulation and with vagus, along with vagus, it is just not these mesenteric plexus and submucosal plexus. Even vagus is included in it, and vagus has inhibitory effect. Along with this, other hormones are also secreted, like CCK, that is cholecystokinin, secretin, GIP, VIP. All these things are secreted due to the presence of chyme, semi-digested chyme in the duodenum. Like secretin is released due to the presence of acidic chyme in the duodenum. CCK, cholecystokinin, are released due to the presence of chyme, which is rich in fat and amino acids. GIP, that is gastric inhibitory peptide, are released due to the presence of glucose and fat in the duodenum. The VIP, vasoactive intestinal peptides, are released due to the presence of acidic chyme in the duodenum. So all these due to the presence of chyme with the acid and with the semi-digested food, all these, when they come in the duodenum, they cause release of these hormones, and these hormones then go to the stomach, and there they decrease or inhibit the secretion from these cells. So this is how intestinal phase or the intestine regulates the or inhibits the gastric secretion. So these are the three phases of gastric secretion. Then to study these secretion, how these phases occur, how these phases are regulated. To study these, there are certain experiments which have been performed. The first one is sham feeding. Sham feeding is an experiment that is used to demonstrate the cephalic phase of the gastric secretion. In this, dog is the esophagus of a dog is cut at the middle of the neck, and the esophagus is exposed. So when the dog eats anything, it comes out and it is collected from the proximal end of the esophagus. So it does not reach the stomach. But due to movement, due to sight, smell, and everything, the stomach interprets that there is food coming inside. So the gastric secretion starts to occur, and that gastric secretion can be collected by inserting a tube through the distal end of the cut esophagus. So this has proved that sham feeding has proved that the cephalic phase or the just thought of food or the taste of food can cause gastric secretion. But this cephalic phase has a latency of 5 to 7 minutes. That means that is after tasting the food, the gastric secretion will occur or start after 5 to 7 minutes. So this has a latency period. The gastric secretion occurs due to cephalic phase, is also known as appetite juice. So the next one is Pavlov's pouch. Pavlov's pouch is an experiment that demonstrates that vagus is a secretomotor nerve. What happens here? A surgical process is done on a anesthetized under general anesthesia. Anesthetized dog is taken, and then a surgical procedure is done. What they do, they cut or they make an incision in the greater curvature of the stomach, and they deviate a small portion from it, and they form a pouch-like structure, which has a open end from where the secretions can be collected, gastric secretion. So the mucosa are cut and then they are formed, but the muscle barrier remains constant, and if they, so there are certain sutures which are given to make sure that the muscle layer is intact. So intactness is provided by sutures and the surgical process. Mucosa is incised, and they deviate a small portion from the greater curvature of the stomach, and that pouch is known as Pavlov's pouch. So you can see here this is the cross section of stomach with Pavlov's pouch. This is the main stomach, and here they have made a Pavlov's pouch. The main thing to be kept in mind is that this Pavlov's pouch has all the nerve and blood supply intact. The nerve supply is not disturbed, the blood supply is not disturbed. So the nerve and blood supply is intact to this Pavlov's pouch, but it does not receive any food that enters the stomach. So what happens when after the dog gets well after the surgical process, when he comes in a good condition, then this experiment is taken. What they do when the vagus from the neck is also exposed. So what they do, they just stimulate the vagus from the neck. That it is severed and exposed, and that vagal nerve from the neck is then stimulated. And when the vagus is stimulated, it causes secretion of gastric juice from this Pavlov's pouch. So this shows that the vagus is a secretor because the nerve supply is intact with this Pavlov's pouch. So whenever the whenever the vagus is stimulated, it causes the secretion in the because some mucosal layer, the muscle layers, all the layers are intact. It does not affect anything. So the vagus will stimulate this Pavlov's pouch also, and that will cause the secretion of gastric juice in this area. So that this proves that the vagus is a secretomotor nerve to the stomach. Then we have Heidenhaus pouch. Heidenhaus pouch is actually just modified Pavlov's pouch, and it is different in a way that the pouch is completely differentiated at the antral part. It is separated from the main stomach, from the antral part of the stomach. And here the nerves are also, it is denervated part. The pouch, Heidenhaus pouch is denervated. The vagus is cut in this pouch, but the blood supply is intact. So this experiment actually demonstrates that there is some blood-borne mechanism that regulates the gastric secretion. So this is basically the Pavlov's pouch demonstrated the neuronal regulation, and this Heidenhaus pouch like demonstrate that there is some blood-borne mechanism. So it will demonstrate the hormonal regulation. There is some hormone, endocrine hormone that travel to the blood, and that are also responsible for gastric secretion. So what happens? This in this Heidenhaus pouch, after the surgery, when the animal recovers, when they feed the dog, due to distension of the stomach, due to distension of the stomach, all the changes that occur in the stomach, after certain time, there is also secretion that is seen in the Heidenhaus pouch. And there is no neuronal regulation, there is nothing, no connection between the two between the two severed parts of the stomach, only that their blood supply is intact. So this proves that there is some blood-borne mechanism, and that is due to the release of gastrin from the G cells of gastric gland. As I have told you that gastrin is an endocrine hormone. It is not exocrine hormone. It is not directly released into the lumen of the gastric gland. Rather, it is taken up in the from the basolateral membrane. It goes to the bloodstream, and from there it comes back to the stomach. So this gastrin is responsible due to the inactivity of the blood vessel. The gastrin released here due to distension or presence of food in this stomach, this part. The gastrin that is released in this part will go to the Heidenhaus pouch, and that will cause the release of gastric juice in this part also. So this demonstrates that there is some blood-borne mechanism also in this kind of in Heidenhaus pouch. the direct use of direct use of gastrin in the person also shows that induces, that stimulates the release of gastric juice in Heidenhaus pouch. So this is how, these are the experiments that are used to demonstrate the different regulatory mechanism of gastric secretion. Now we will talk about gastric motility. So we have done the phases, the secretion and everything. Now we know that it is essential to propel the food in one direction. It is essential for the musculature to be motile. So there are certain waves, there are peristaltic waves and other wave-like formations that causes the further propulsion of food into the intestine, and they also help in digestion and mixing of food with the digestive juice. So this gastric motility is actually a function of gastric musculature, as we have discussed. Gastric musculature, gastric muscle or muscle propria layer of gastric wall. It has 3 muscle layers rather than 2. So it has a circular layer, it has a longitudinal muscle fiber layer, and along with that, it has innermost oblique muscle fiber layer. And for so these are the musculature that are responsible for gastric motility. To study gastric movement, this stomach is divided into 2 parts: oral part and caudal part. Oral part or is the region with fundus and proximal part body, and caudal region is the antrum, pyloric antrum, and distal part of the body. So the body is imaginarily divided into 2 parts. The body of the stomach is divided into 2 parts, and the upper part with fundus is known as oral part, and the lower part with antrum, pyloric antrum and pylorus are called the caudal region. So upper region is usually for gathering the food or the bolus that is coming from the esophagus, and the lower part is mainly for propulsion and mixing and formation of time, which we will read ahead. So depending on the motility of the stomach is of two types. The stomach is motile even when it is empty. So motility of or gastric movement of empty stomach, and then we have gastric movement of stomach after meal. So empty stomach के जो movements होते हैं उसे कहते हैं migrating motor complex and hunger contraction. Migrating motor complex or MMCs are basically peristaltic waves that arises in esophagus and they travel throughout the gastrointestinal tract. It is not just associated with stomach or intestine, it travels throughout the GIT. It is initiated in the esophagus and it occurs during interdigestive period. That means when the food is digested, there is no food in stomach or intestine, and during those periods, that interdigestive periods, during those interdigestive periods, these migrating motor complexes they arise from the esophagus and they travel throughout the intestine. They make sure that there is no food remaining inside the stomach. As soon as they just keep on checking after they travel at the rate of 5 centimeter per minute and they arrive after 60 to 90 minutes. So they basically keep a check that there is nothing left in the stomach or intestine, and if there is something, they just propel it forward. So due to this activity, they are also known as interdigestive housekeepers. And they prepare the stomach, they empty the stomach and the intestine, and they prepare it for the next meal. So these are MMCs, migrating motor complex, present in the empty stomach, and they are abolished immediately as soon as we take up the food. MMCs are actually hunger contractions are the second type of wave of empty stomach. They are actually, if you say they are MMC, they are one step ahead of MMC, that is migrating motor complexes. Hunger contraction are they are also peristaltic waves of empty stomach that cause the feeling of hunger. But they are different from digestive peristaltic wave because these hunger contractions they include the whole stomach, the oral part and the caudal part. But digestive peristalsis are is basically concerned with the type 1 hunger contraction or जो भी हो, they are abolished immediately. Now we will talk about the motility of stomach after having meal. There are three types of movements of filled stomach or after meal. That is receptive relaxation, mixing peristaltic wave, and gastric empty. So these are three phases. Receptive relaxation is for the accommodation of food that is coming from the esophagus. That is the bolus that is reaching the stomach. उसको accommodate कराने के लिए जो relaxation होगा, जो stomach distension होगी, उसको कहते हैं receptive relaxation. अब food आ गया तो उसको digest करना है, तो उसके लिए peristaltic wave, तो mixing peristaltic wave होगी. फिर इसको बाहर निकाल के duodenum को देना है, तो उसके लिए gastric empty होगी. तो these are the three phases for digestion of food in the stomach. उसको आना है, उसको mix होना है, digest होना है, उसको जाना है. तो इससे तीन तरह की movements होती हैं. The first is receptive relaxation or accommodation. That is the bolus. As soon as the bolus reaches the cardia region of the stomach from the esophagus, it causes the stretch receptors to stimulate the fundic region and the proximal body, that's the oral portion of the stomach, to increase or distend, and that is the food relaxation, to accommodate the meal that is reaching the stomach and or to accommodate the bolus that is reaching the stomach. And this is known as, so here you can see that this fundic region and proximal body are increasing, they are distending. So this is known as receptive relaxation. This is due to the vagovagal reflex. That means again, vagus will carry out the reception or from the stretch receptor that food has arrived in the stomach, and vagus will bring the motor sensation for the distension of the oral part of the oral region of the stomach, and this will cause more accommodation of food, and it can distend to only the oral region can distend up to accommodate 1 to 2 liters of food in this area. So this is known as receptive relaxation or accommodation to accomplish the food that is reaching the stomach to get accommodated in this area. After this, the mixing peristaltic wave starts from the mid stomach. अब यहाँ तक के तो यूज हो गया खाना खाने को accommodate कराने के लिए. The lower half होता है फिर body का और antral region होता है, फिर वहाँ से शुरू होता है आपका peristaltic wave, that is digestive peristaltic wave. जैसे अभी हमने डिस्कस किया कि hunger contraction जो peristaltic wave है वो पूरे stomach में होती हैं, और जो digestive peristaltic wave है वो mid stomach में शुरू होती है from the lower half of the body to antral cord and pyloric part. This is how they are different from digestive peristalsis. They are different from hunger contractions. So this is receptive relaxation. अब खाना आ गया है, अब इसको digest करना है. So digestion, the presence of food in the caudal region. This is oral region. जैसे जैसे ये भरेगा फिर food कहाँ जाएगा? Caudal region for digestion. So the presence of food in the caudal region causes more and more contractile activity. अभी तक relaxation activity थी, जो oral region था उसकी relaxation हुआ था. जैसे ही caudal region में food पहुंचेगा, that will lead to more and more contractile activity of the caudal region or body, and this contraction will lead to generation of peristaltic wave, and this contraction. This enhanced contractile activity is known as mixed peristaltic wave because it is a combination of peristalsis with retropulsion. That is, peristalsis to move the bolus or the chyme forward, and retropulsion is it will strike the pyloric sphincter and it will come back, and this will cause the mixing of the food and breaking of the food into very small particles. So this peristaltic wave, this digestive peristaltic wave, is a mixed peristaltic wave because it has both peristalsis and retropulsion. The food आगे भी जाता है और वापस से stomach में फिर से वापस से आ जाता है. So this is known as peristalsis and retropulsion. What happens Here you can see the food has reached the caudal region, and in the mid stomach or mid body of the stomach, the contractile waves have started. And this contractile wave travels throughout the stomach, and this will cause the contraction of the stomach wall along with the movement of food in the forward direction. So this is known as peristaltic peristaltic wave propulsion. Propulsion means movement of food from the body to the pyloric region. So this peristaltic wave will generate in the mid of the body. So this is a digestive peristaltic wave, and as this will move forward, but as the food reaches this pyloric sphincter, this is pyloric sphincter, so that the food can go to the duodenum or through pylorus. What will happen? This wave of contraction will reach the pyloric sphincter before the food reaches this pyloric sphincter, and it will cause the pyloric sphincter to get constricted. So the food that is coming with the peristaltic wave will get strike from this pyloric sphincter, and it will move back from the antral region to the body, and this is known as retropulsion. And only due to very small opening of pyloric sphincter, you can see here, because the peristaltic wave is already reached here. Now, before the food is reaching to the sphincter, it will allow only very small amount of food to enter the duodenum. So this is known as gastric emptying, which we will discuss later. So this is how this peristaltic wave, the food is moving forward. It is getting struck by the closed or slightly opened pyloric sphincter, and will be struck here, and it will get back flow. And this is known as this back flow is known as retropulsion. That is, the food moves back from pylorus antral to the body. And this retropulsion, and again the peristaltic wave will generate, and again the food will come back here. And this circular movement, peristaltic propulsion, striking to the slow sphincter, retropulsion. Again propulsion, again retropulsion. All these things will cause more and more proper mixing of the food with the acidic environment of the stomach, and this will allow more digestion, more breaking down of the molecules into smaller pieces. So this will break down the food particle into smaller pieces, and this will form the chyme. Lesser or smaller the particle, it will be easily passed through the pyloric wall, pyloric sphincter. Okay. अगर बड़े साइज के होंगे तो it will not get passed from this pyloric sphincter, because pyloric sphincter बहुत छोटे ड्यूरेशन के लिए बहुत थोड़ा सा ओपन होता है. And as soon as the next peristaltic wave comes with the food, the peristaltic wave reaches the pyloric sphincter beforehand, ahead of the time that is traveling. So it will again get closed. So very small amount will get passed through the slightly open sphincter. And जैसे ये फिर close होगा, again this will get strike back, and it will cause retropulsion. So this ensures the proper digestion in the stomach, proper mixing, and it also ensures the slow gastric emptying. So this is mixing peristaltic waves in the stomach. So now we will talk about gastric emptying. Gastric emptying is due to, again, these three movements of stomach. They are interdependent. The receptive relaxation, because receptive relaxation होगा तभी ज़्यादा bolus enter कर पाएगा stomach में. Peristaltic waves होंगी तभी वो mix होगा, तभी वो digest होगा. जितना वो digest होगा, जितने smaller particles में वो break down होगा, उतने ही easily फिर gastric emptying होगी. So the gastric emptying is the process by which the chyme enters the initial part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. So gastric emptying is the movement of the peristaltic waves of the stomach, the pyloric antrum, the pyloric sphincter, and duodenum. They form a single unit. They are three different parts, but they act as in a single unit. They act in a unity, and they ensure that there will be a very slow emptying of the gastric content, so that proper mixing, proper conversion of food into chyme, proper digestion in the stomach. So these three, they act as a single unit, and they ensure slow gastric emptying. What happens due to this propulsion and retropulsion, that is mixed peristaltic wave of the stomach, the food is decomposed into smaller and smaller particles. And it should be, just मैंने आपको बोला, it should be small enough, it should be small enough so that it can pass that small pyloric sphincter, because the sphincter is getting the peristaltic wave ahead of the food. So it is getting constricted. जैसे ही food आता है वो constrict हो जा रहा है. So the food is going back. So this ensures that the bigger particles cannot pass from the pyloric sphincter. It ensures that the bigger particles move back to the body of the stomach where they get more digested, and the only small particles are getting into the passing through the pyloric sphincter and coming to the duodenum. So this ensures slow gastric emptying. The slow gastric emptying or the gastric emptying is regulated by certain factors like fluidity or consistency of the kind. More the fluid content of the more the liquidy content, अगर food में आपका liquid content ज़्यादा है तो it will affect the it will more will be the like gastrin. Gastrin जितना ज़्यादा रिलीज होता है उतना ज़्यादा gastric emptying होगी. Gastrin is also directly proportional to the gastric emptying. Gastrin again depends upon distension of the stomach. It depends upon the digested food byproducts. So all these factors are interdependent. जितना ज़्यादा again आप खाना ज़्यादा होगा तो ज़्यादा distension होगा तो वेगस जी सेल को ज्यादा स्टिमुलेट करेगी, गैस्ट्रिन ज्यादा रिलीज होगा तो गैस्ट्रिन itself will cause more gastric emptying. It will directly affect the gastric emptying and will cause or increase gastric emptying. So hormone also affects it, then type of food also affects it. So like carbohydrates, they cause very fast gastric emptying. Proteins, they have slow gastric emptying, and fat products, fatty food has the lowest rate of gastric emptying. They are emptied very slowly from the stomach into the duodenum. So all these factors are there. These and some neuronal factors are also there that helps in gastric emptying on the regulate. जैसे हमने intestinal phase में discuss किया था, same here. So enterogastric reflex. Enterogastric means गैस्ट्रिक के अंदर ही अंदर लोकल रिफ्लेक्सेस जो होते हैं जो डियोडेनम से स्टमक में आ रहे हैं दैट आर एंटेरोगैस्ट्रिक रिफ्लेक्स. व्हाट हैपेंस ड्यू टू सेम फैक्टर्स ड्यू टू डिस्टेंशन ऑफ जैसे ही फूड डियोडेनम में जाता है डियोडेनम भी डिस्टेंट हो जाता है ड्यू टू डिस्टेंशन ऑफ फूड. एसिडिक टाइम है क्योंकि इसमें HCl मिक्स्ड है जो स्टमक से आया है, एसिडिक टाइम होता है. एंड दिस the digested byproducts like proteins and all, इसके जो byproducts होते हैं ये सारे जो पहुंचते हैं duodenum में, they again initiate an enterogastric reflex जो हमने intestinal phase में discuss किया था, and they cause inhibition of gastric emptying. So the gastric factors जो अभी तक हमने discuss की, stomach में कितना खाना है, खाने की fluidity क्या है, खाने की volume क्या है, all these things they actually are directly proportional to gastric emptying, but the presence of food in the duodenum is indirectly proportional. जैसे ही खाना duodenum में आता है, duodenum stomach को inhibitory reflexes देता है कि that decreases the rate of gastric emptying. Gastric emptying decrease होने लगती है. How does duodenum do this? Duodenum and जो propulsive wave है उनको इनहिबिट करना. propulsive wave मतलब जो बॉडी से पाइलोरिक स्फिंक्टर की तरफ आ रहे हैं उनको डिक्रीज करता है, उनको इनहिबिट करता है और पाइलोरिक स्फिंक्टर की जो टोन है उसको और इंक्रीज कर देता है. तो दे रिमेन फॉर कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड स्टेट फॉर लॉन्गर पीरियड. तो जो पाइलोरिक स्फिंक्टर है वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड स्टेट में रहता है ज्यादा तो गैस्ट्रिक एम्प्टीइंग डिक्रीज हो जाती है. So this duodenal factor or nervous factor due to duodenum or enterogastric reflex decreases the gastric emptying. Certain hormones are also there, they are known as enterogastrones, as we have discussed. These enterogastrones are released in the duodenum due to the presence of food in the duodenum or due to the presence of chyme in the duodenum. These hormones are released और ये हार्मोन जाके स्टमक को कहते हैं कि गैस्ट्रिक एम्पटिंग को डिक्रीज करो. So this is like the regulation by intestinal phase. So जो गैस्ट्रिक सिक्रीशन को रेगुलेट करते हैं चीजें, वही गैस्ट्रिक मोटिलिटी को भी रेगुलेट करती हैं. ठीक है. So she says cholecystokinin, somatostatin, secretin, which now all we have discussed, due to presence of acidic chyme, due to presence of fat and amino acid in the chyme, due to presence of glucose, GIP released due to presence of glucose and fat in the chyme. When these things reaches the duodenum wall, this releases these hormones, and these hormones then decrease the gastric emptying or gastric motility. So that will result in decreased gastric emptying. So this is how the gastric emptying is regulated, and all these factors they ensure that there will be slow gastric emptying, and so that slow gastric emptying hogi to digestion and absorption will be proper. So this was all about gastric motility. Then we have to talk about very important gastric mucosal barrier. Now, what is gastric mucosal barrier? This gastric mucosal barrier is just a name is just the gastric stomach related to stomach. Then mucosal मतलब mucosa का barrier. So जो stomach है उसमें एक mucosal barrier होता है. Gastric mucosal barrier मतलब lumen of stomach और mucus के बीच में एक barrier होता है. So that this barrier, this prevents autodigestion. That means they do intralumen high hydrochloric acid. Intralumen मतलब जो stomach के lumen में HCl present है, जिसके कारण बहुत high acidity है, इसके कारण कोई डाइजेशन ना हो अपने आप की म्यूकोसा का. जो stomach है उसमें HCl है, तो peptinogenin they can easily tighten the stomach wall. So to prevent this, there is a barrier of mucus. There is a barrier of mucus that prevents this intralumen HCl to attack the mucosal wall, and this is known as gastric mucosal barrier. We have already discussed that this mucosal barrier is due to the presence of mucin secretion, thick mucus secreted by the goblet cell. That means the mucous neck cell and the epithelial alveolar cells of the mucosa. हमने लेयर में डिस्कस किया था, वहां पे epithelial alveolar cells होती हैं, goblet neck cells होती हैं, and वो cells they are responsible for secretion of mucin, and this thick viscous mucin is responsible for making a gel-like structure, gel-like layer throughout the stomach and also duodenum, because duodenum is also receiving acidic chyme. So this prevents the degeneration, or this prevents the digestion of the mucosal layer here in these areas, that is stomach and duodenum. Other than mucus secretion, these cells, जो epithelial cells हैं, जो mucous neck cells हैं, ये भी मैंने आपको बताया है कि ये they also secrete bicarbonate ions. So these HCO3 negative ions they immediately neutralize H plus ion. जो भी अगर they come in contact with H plus ion of hydrochloric acid, they immediately neutralize these H plus ion. Then we have epithelial barrier. Epithelial barrier means the epithelial cells of the mucosa, they have tight junction between them, which prevents any backflow of H plus ion into the cell. जो हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड ल्यूमेन में आ चुका है, गैस्ट्रिक ग्लैंड के ल्यूमेन में आ चुका है, वो वापस से अंदर सेल में नहीं जा सकता. So that has crossed the mucosal barrier that will not be able to re-enter backwards into the cell due to the presence of these tight junctions. And if there is any disturbance, or if there is any cell that is being affected due to the hydrochloric acid, that is immediately removed, and the other cells are immediately formed at that site. So the turnover rate of gastric mucosa is very high. जैसे ही डिजेनरेशन होता है, डाइजेशन होता है, सेल्स को उनको तुरंत ही हटा के तुरंत उनको रिवाइव कर दिया जाता है, दूसरी नई सेल्स वहां पे तुरंत ही फॉर्म हो जाती है. Turnover rate of gastric mucosa is very high. This also prevents any problem in the gastric mucosa. Other than that, the gastric high mucosal blood flow is also very high. जो mucosa layer है सेल वॉल की, उसमें ब्लड को भी बहुत हाई होता है. तो जैसे ही अगर बाई चांस कोई एसिडिक आयन आ भी जाता है सेल में, उसको इमीडिएटली ब्लड फ्लो के थ्रू, जो म्यूकोसा का ब्लड फ्लो है उसके थ्रू उसको रिमूव कर दिया जाता है immediately. It will not last in the cell for longer period of time. So all these things, they provide a gastric mucosal barrier. So this will prevent autodilatation of mucosa of the stomach and duodenum by the high acidic content and pepsinogen also. So pepsinogen is protein digesting enzyme. अगर वो म्यूकोसा के पास आएगा तो जो उसमें मसल लेयर्स हैं उनको, प्रोटीन्स हैं, उनको भी डिजेनरेट कर देगा. So this gastric mucosal barrier is very important to ensure that the intralumen HCl and intralumen pepsinogen does not attack on the mucus or mucosa of the stomach wall or duodenal wall. So this is gastric mucosal barrier, which brings us to next topic, that is peptic ulcer. That's the applied aspect. अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है म्यूकोसल बैरियर में, जिसके कारण जो एसिडिक वो है, आपका एसिडिक कंटेंट है, वो आपकी स्टमक वॉल को इफेक्ट करेगा, and that will lead to any kind of problems, ulcerations, and that is known. तो उससे जो प्रॉब्लम होती है उसको कहते हैं पेप्टिक अल्सर. दैट मींस एक्सकवेशन ऑफ म्यूकोसा. जो आपकी म्यूकोसा थी, म्यूकोसल बैरियर में कोई इफेक्ट होगा तभी वो म्यूकोसा. म्यूकोसल बैरियर मतलब जो म्यूकोसा ने म्यूसिन सिक्रीट करके जेल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर बनाया, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम होगी, दैट इज योर म्यूकोसल बैरियर. उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम होगी उस जेल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर में, तो जो आपका HCl है या पेप्सिनोजन है वो आपकी म्यूकोसा तक पहुंचेगा. म्यूकोसा इज द इनरमोस्ट लेयर ऑफ द स्टमक वॉल. वो वहां पर म्यूकोसा को पहुंचेगा और म्यूकोसा को डिजनरेट कर देगा या डाइजेस्ट करेगा, एस्केपेट कर देगा उस रीजन को, और वो रीजन इफेक्टेड हो जाएगा ड्यू टू प्रेजेंस ऑफ हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड एंड पेप्सिनोजन, एंड दैट इज नोन एज अल्सरेशन ऑफ म्यूकोसा, एंड दैट इज नोन एज पेप्टिक अल्सर. पेप्टिक मींस रिलेटेड टू स्टमक. Peptic ulcer. Now this excavation of mucosa can occur by two things. या तो जो आपकी गैस्ट्रिक म्यूकोसल बैरियर है या गैस्ट्रिक डिओडेनल बैरियर है, क्योंकि डिओडेनम भी इसमें इंक्लूडेड है, क्योंकि डिओडेनम को भी एसिडिक काइंड मिल रहा है. तो गैस्ट्रिक डिओडेनल म्यूकोसल जो बैरियर है, या तो वो उसकी एबिलिटी कम हो गई है, या तो फिर एक्सेसिव सिक्रीशन हो रहा है सेल का, कि वो उसको हैंडल ही नहीं कर पा रही है. या तो दो ही चीज हो सकती है कि सिक्रीशन नॉर्मल है, HCl कंटेंट नॉर्मल है, और तो बहुत हाई एसिडिक है लेकिन नॉर्मल है. तो क्यों होगा? तो इसलिए होगा कि म्यूकोसा के जो बैरियर है उसकी की एबिलिटी कम हो गई है. वो कब होता है? वो मेनली होता है H pylori के इन्फेक्शन से, दैट इज हेलिकोबैक्टर पाइलोरी. इट इज अ बैक्टीरिया दैट जो बैक्टीरियम है दैट सिक्रीट्स अ डाइजेस्टिव एंजाइम. बैक्टीरिया एक डाइजेस्टिव एंजाइम सिक्रीट करता है जो कि म्यूसिन लेयर पे काम करता है और उस म्यूसिन लेयर को डिसॉल्व कर देती है. और उस म्यूसिन लेयर के डिसॉल्व होने के बाद वहां पे म्यूकोसल बैरियर खत्म हो जाएगा जहां पे वो होगा. तो इजीली जो आपका इंट्राल्यूमन हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड है वो इजीली म्यूकोसा के ऊपर अटैक करते हैं. तो वो जो बैक्टीरिया है वो म्यूकोसा के ऊपर अटैक नहीं करता, वो जो म्यूसिन लेयर है उसको डिसॉल्व कर देता है. और वो डिसॉल्व होने के बाद वहां पे वो जो आपकी म्यूकोसा है, सेल स्टमक वॉल या ड्यूडेनल वॉल की म्यूकोसा है, वो आपके एक्सपोज हो जाती है टू HCl एंड पेप्सिनोजन, एंड देन दिस HCl जो अपने आपका स्टमक का ही HCl और पेप्सिनोजन है वो उसके ऊपर काम करता है और वहां पे अल्सरेशन करता है. Other than this infection, H. pylori infection, Helicobacter pylori infection, there are other factors: the prolonged use of ethyl alcohol, prolonged use of vinegar, bile salts, excessive cigarette smoking, use of NSAIDs. NSAIDs are drugs like ibuprofen and aspirin. All these, the prolonged use of all these also leads to degeneration or dissolving of mucin layer. Again, same thing will happen. The mucosa will be exposed to the HCl and trypsinogen, and that will cause to ulceration of stomach wall. This is due to the diminished ability of gastroduodenal mucosal wall. The other reason could be excessive secretion of gastric acid. अब इसमें क्या है कि आपकी वॉल बैरियर में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, बैरियर इंटैक्ट था, अगर नॉर्मल सिक्रेशन होता तो वो उसको उसके साथ कोप अप कर जाता, लेकिन जब एक्सेसिव सिक्रेशन है गैस्ट्रिक एसिड का तो क्या होगा, तो भी सेम होगा, एक्सेसिव सिक्रेशन होगा तो H प्लस आयंस का बैकफ्लो होने लगेगा, HCl जो है वो एक्ट करने लगेगा ऑन द म्यूकोसा, again leading to peptic ulcer, and this occurs only in increased parietal cell mass. Parietal cells are responsible for secretion of HCl. तो उनका अगर मास इंक्रीज कर जाता है, इंक्रीज सेंसिटिविटी टू स्टिमुलाई, सिक्रेटरी स्टिमुलाई, मतलब छोटी से छोटी स्टिमुलस अगर मैं थोड़ा सा भी अगर खाना खाया तो भी, जरा सा फूड आया तो भी वेगस में उसको जो सेक्रेटोमोटर का रिफ्लेक्स था, जो सेक्रेटोमोटर एक्टिविटी थी वो बहुत हाई थी, जो सेंसेशन आया वो बहुत हाई आया। सिर्फ एक्सट्रिंसिक रेगुलेशन से नहीं, इंट्रिंसिक रेगुलेशन, जो बायोमेट्रिक और सब म्यूकोसल प्लेक्सेस है उनसे भी जो सिक्रेटरी आपका स्टिमुलस आया वो बहुत हाई आया, जो जबकि फूड कंटेंट जो था वो बहुत कम था, कम सिक्रेशन से भी काम चला था, लेकिन जो स्टिमुलाई है वो बहुत हाई आया। दिस इज इंक्रीज सेंसिटिविटी ऑफ सिक्रेटरी स्टिमुलाई, this will lead to more secretion of HCl, and again same. Then other than this, gastronoma, that is tumor of gastric glands. Same thing, parietal cell mass increase कर जाए या वहाँ पे tumor हो जाए, that will lead to increased cell activity, and that will lead to increased HCl secretion. And thus it will reach to the mucosa and it will excavate it, making it ulcerated. What are the features of peptic ulcer? It is associated with nausea, vomiting, hematomesis means blood in vomiting. Then it will lead to heartburn. Heartburn means that is the pain felt due to the backflow of the acidic content from stomach into the esophagus, and that will lead to painful sensation also. Anorexia means loss of appetite. The person does not feel like eating anything, and then all these things will together lead to loss of weight. So these are the features of peptic ulcer. How peptic ulcer can be managed? मैनेजमेंट के लिए हमको याद करना पड़ेगा कि हमने पढ़ा था कि कैसे HCl का सिक्रीशन होता है। जब हमने HCl का सिक्रीशन पढ़ा था तो हमने पढ़ा था कि इसमें वेगल रेगुलेशन और सब रेगुलेशंस के, वेगल रेगुलेशन और आपका जब हमने ये पढ़ा था HCl सिक्रेशन, गैस्ट्रिक सिक्रेशन का रेगुलेशन पढ़ा था, तब हमने पढ़ा था कि ये वेगस कैसे रेगुलेट करते हैं या दूसरे हार्मोन्स कैसे रेगुलेट करते हैं। तो वी हैव रेड कि जो वेगस होती है वो ACH एसिटाइलकोलिन रिलीज करती है, तो ये एसिटाइलकोलिन जाता है पैराइटल सेल पे और पैराइटल सेल को स्टिमुलेट करता है टू सीक्रेट मोर HCl। तो दिस पेप्टिक अल्सर मैनेजमेंट के लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, हमें HCl की सिक्रेशन को डिक्रीज करना पड़ेगा। अगर H pylori का infection है तो we will give some antibiotics along with it, but together with that we have to control the HCl secretion so that HCl cannot act on mucosa to protect our mucosa, stomach wall. तो हमें HCl का secretion decrease करना पड़ेगा। तो for decreasing the HCl secretion we have to regulate all the sites or the sites where these on the parietal cell जिसके कारण पैराइटल सेल स्टिमुलेट होती है। तो हमने पढ़ा था कि ACH जो वेगस से रिलीज होता है वो एक्ट करता है थ्रू मस्कुरानिक रिसेप्टर, ठीक है। एसिटाइलकोलिन एक्ट्स थ्रू मस्कुरानिक रिसेप्टर, so there are muscarinic receptor blocking drugs, they act on the muscarinic receptors on which the acetylcholine acts. So these drugs they form a combination with these receptor, तो जब एसिटाइलकोलिन आता है तो वो रिसेप्टिव साइट्स को रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं कर पाएगा, तो उससे अटैच नहीं होगा तो सिक्रीशन, हाइड्रोजन आयन का सिक्रीशन और क्लोरीन आयन का सिक्रीशन डिक्रीज कर जाएगा। तो दिस इज हाउ टू बाय ब्लॉकिंग muscarinic receptors on the parietal cells. Then we have read that histamine acts to H2 receptors on parietal cells. So similarly, we can Rimididine drug होती है, Rimididine drug can be used to block the H2 receptor on the parietal cell, and by again अगर हम इस receptor को block कर देंगे, histamine जो release भी होगा वो अपने साइड पे उसे recognize नहीं कर पाएगा, यहाँ attach नहीं हो पाएगा, तो H plus ion का secretion decrease हो जाएगा, thus leading to decreased HCl secretion. So these are the so we can use H2 receptor blocking receptor, we can use muscarinic blocking receptor, and we can use omeprazole. Omeprazole is a drug that blocks or that decreases this hydrogen potassium ATPase pump activity, क्योंकि इसको ब्लॉक कर देती है. तो ये सब चीजें होंगी भी, इसके कारण हाइड्रोजन आयन बंद हो जाएगा, पर हाइड्रोजन आयन बनने के बाद एटीपेज पंप भी एक्टिव नहीं हो पाएगा, जिसके कारण हाइड्रोजन आयन बाहर जा ही नहीं पाएगा. So these are the things. The rimididine can be used. We can use muscarinic receptor blocking receptor. We can use H plus K plus hydrogen potassium blocking ATPase pump blocking receptor drugs. So all these will lead to decreased activity and decreased secretion of H plus ion, thus decreased HCl secretion. Antacids, if we talk about antacids, are the drugs that we use that also help in formation this gel-like coating जो mucin बनाती है, similar coating they also form on the mucosa, so they protect the mucosa from further degeneration. So this is how peptic ulcer can be managed. So that was all about stomach. In next class we will start with pancreas. So that will be all for today.
Thank you, ma'am.
मैम एक बार पेवलो पाउच बता दो एक बार.